Hello everyone, welcome to this video discussion. The topic is on cover letter. Before anything else, let us have this one first in order for us to really understand the goal of this video discussion. First one is for us to create clear, coherent, and effective communication materials, specifically a cover letter, and then to present ideas persuasively using appropriate language registers, tone, facial expressions, and gestures. And lastly is to adopt awareness of audience and context in presenting ideas and communication ideas. Now, in this video discussion, my primary focus will be a discussion on cover letter. So in this topic, I am going to describe what a cover letter is. I am also going to discuss various purposes of a cover letter, distinguish the purpose of a cover letter from a resume, enumerate the different kinds or types of a cover letter from a resume, and create a cover letter. Let us begin by pondering on this one. Choose a job you like and you never have to work a day in your life. In the world of employment, we need to choose a job that is based on our passion. While it is true that we need to find a job that can sustain our family's needs, it is also important that we enjoy what we do. Because through this, we will find our job much easier compared to the job that we will do and we don't have any passion for it. Therefore, it is very important to look for a job that is based on our skills, our competencies, or based on our interest. Through this, it will be easier for us to do our tasks in the workplace, and it will be easier as well for us to connect well with our workmates or our higher ups or supervisors. So, what is a cover letter? A cover letter is a one-page document that explains to the hiring manager why you are an ideal candidate for the job. Apart from the resume that you will submit, a cover letter is a very important or vital material in order for you to convince the boss or the prospect employer to hire you in the company. With the resume alone, you cannot really convince the boss or the higher up or the employer to hire you in the company because a resume contains only the necessary data. But what will really communicate your ideas or the message of why you deserve the position you're applying for to the hiring officer is the cover letter. This one is sent out to screen applicants for available jobs. And this one also sales speech that will market your credentials. Although the resume already contains your credentials because you have there your educational background, your seminars attended, your awards and recognitions, your credentials, all in all, the one-page cover letter will help you convince the hiring officer to give you the position you are applying for. Through that, it will be easier for you to make sure that at the end of the job interview, you will get the job, or at, after you submit the cover letter and the resume, you will be called for a job interview. So here are the purposes of having a cover letter. First one, a cover letter introduces you. Even if it's true that a resume contains personal information about yourself, a cover letter is sufficient enough to tell more about yourself to the hiring officer. A cover letter is there to somehow share a story to the hiring officer in a written form. A cover letter also mentions the job you are applying for. I'm pretty sure that when you apply for a job, you have to stipulate it in a cover letter as to what position you are applying for. And then a cover letter also matches your skills and experiences required by the job. Because in a cover letter, you are going to express your intention of applying for a position that is based on your qualifications or your credentials. A cover letter also encourages the reader to read your resume. The first page that the hiring officer will see is not the first page of your resume. It is the first page, or it is the cover letter itself. So the moment the hiring officer sees your cover letter, he or she will read or scan through it and may be invited to really read the resume, the entire resume, and consider you for a job interview. And most importantly, a cover letter will finish with a call to action. And that is in the concluding part of your cover letter, you will have to mention there that you will be very interested to be called for a job interview or that you would like to talk matters with the hiring officer. So a cover letter is your best buddy in applying for a position. Apart from, besides the resume that you will have, a cover letter will also serve as one of the important tools for you to communicate or channel your message effectively to the hiring officer. Now, there are different types of a cover letter. First one is the application letter. So this is the typical cover letter that we attach with our resume. So the application letter contains the important information about yourself, those primarily that are not enshrined or presented in your resume. An application letter is also very vital in channeling what is it that you truly desire based on the application that you are doing or based on the request that you have done. The other one is a referral cover letter. For example, you would like to recommend someone or recommend, let's say, a product or a service. A cover letter could also come handy. Third type is the letter of interest. So if example, you have an interest to apply for, let's say, a scholarship program or an exchange program. So a cover letter may serve as a letter of interest, expressing your interest to be part of the program or to be chosen as one of the delegates or participants. We also have networking letters. Networking letters are used primarily when you would like to make linkages or connections with other people or organizations. So our cover letter will also be very helpful in making sure that you channel your message effectively towards those potential networks or linkages. And lastly is the value proposition letter. So for example, if you would like to express something that is of great value for you, then a value proposition letter in the form of a cover letter will really help. Now, here are some cover letter writing guidelines. When writing a cover letter, you have to make sure that you observe all sections, that all of the sections in a cover letter are present. So what are these sections? So first we have the header or the inside address. Okay, so you have first the date, and then after the date you have to write there the inside address. Now the inside address should contain the complete details of who will receive or who shall receive the letter. So ideally there are 4 lines in an inside address. The first line is allotted for the name of the person, complete name of a person. The second line is intended for the designation or the position of that recipient. The third line is allocated for the company name, and then the fourth line is for the company address. After the salutation, you have now after the inside address rather, you have now the salutation. So for example, you have Dear Mr. Cruz or Dear Miss San Juan. So that line is called the salutation. And then after it, you have the message, okay, or the content of your letter. And then the content of your letter should have a strong introduction, comprehensive body, and also a relevant closing or conclusion. So you have to make sure that your first paragraph of the letter is something that can really catch the attention of your readers. And then the body is also something that is comprehensible, meaning it could be easily understood by your reader. Avoid pointing out information which could cause confusion to your readers. And then your closing statement or your conclusion should also be strong enough. Now, if it is an application letter, ideally, your conclusion should include your contact details and your interest of being invited to a job interview. And then you also have the complementary clause, for example, sincerely yours or respectfully yours. We also have other complementary clauses that we can use depending on the level of authority or the level of respect that we have towards the recipient. And then lastly, and of course, one of the important elements of a letter is the signature line. So you have to accurately indicate your name there, complete name, your position perhaps, or if you're an applicant, you may include there or mention there that you're an applicant, and then make sure to affix your signature, because the signature there symbolizes or signifies that everything that you stipulated in your letter is true. So these are the parts of a letter. Now, if you have enclosures, you can actually indicate it at the bottom part of your letter ENC, which stands for enclosure. Enclosure is when you attach something. So for example, if you have an enclosed resume, so you can put there ENC colon resume, which means that when you submitted your cover letter, you have had a resume attached with it. Okay? So before we proceed to my conclusion of this one, allow me to share to you a sample cover letter, application letter, which will give you an idea on how to craft one. So this is an example of a cover letter, a simple cover letter. So if you can see, we started with a date here. Okay, so you have the date here, and then single space only, and then you proceed to the inside address. So this highlighted portion is the inside address. So in the inside address, you have to indicate the complete name, and if that person or the recipient has a degree or a title that needs to be connected with the name, then you have to accurately include it. So in this case, the name should be all capital letters and in boldface for emphasis purposes. And then here in the second line, you need to indicate the complete position or designation of this person. On the third line, you need to put the name of the company. And then here on the last line, you need to indicate the complete company address. And then you have here double spaces. So after double spaces, you have here the salutation. Okay, the salutation that we used here is Dear Dr. Gonzalez. One basic rule when writing a formal letter is to never use a comma after the salutation. So if you notice, we used here a colon because a colon is a punctuation used to show respect or high regard for the person who will be receiving the letter. Now, if it is only a friendly letter, okay, a letter for your acquaintance, then maybe you can use a comma. But an application letter is a formal business letter. Therefore, you need to use a colon here to show that you have high regard for the person who will be receiving your application letter. And then you have here the greeting line. So you may start with the greetings, but just make sure that your greetings, this line is composed of greetings that are not too long. Okay, just choose a simple one. And then you have here the body of your letter or the message content. So we are going to read this one. I read your advertisement about your job vacancy for the position HR associate. This position interests me very much, not only because this is very much aligned to my skills, but also because I know I can contribute a lot of things to your company, which will also enable me to practice all the things I learned from my special trainings and skills enhancement. Now, if you noticed here, the writer specifically or specified rather the position he is applying for. So since our writer here is Jones, he specified here that he is applying for the position HR associate in ADC company. Okay, so you need to stipulate here the position. Okay, and then the succeeding sentences may now revolve to expressing why you think you are a perfect fit for the position you're applying for. So you have to explain here what interests you so much in applying to this company or what makes you more qualified over the other applicants. And then let's proceed to the second paragraph. Furthermore, I strongly believe that I can be of asset to your company considering my educational credentials and special skills. Also, my previous employment in an internationally recognized manpower company could help me apply in your company all the learned skills. Okay, so this portion now is more on convincing the recipient or the hiring officer of Jones's strengths or advantages if he will be hired in the company. So clearly, if you could see here, there are advantages or strengths mentioned here to make sure that the hiring officer or the recipient of the letter will really be convinced to cater to Jones for a job interview. And then you have here a sentence indicating that there is an attachment. I am hoping that you will consider this as my formal application for the said position. Attached is my resume. Okay. And then one important portion of the body or the message content is this one, the last paragraph or the conclusion. I am looking forward to meeting you to discuss my application. Please call me at your most convenient time. You may reach me at, so you have here the contact number, or email me at the contact email or the email address provided. And then please do not forget to express your thanks or gratitude to the hiring officer or the recipient of the letter. Now, this portion is very important. So when you write your contact details here, make sure that you provide accurate information. Why? Because these information here will be used in or when the hiring officer contacts you for a job interview. So make sure also that your contact number is reachable and that your email address is valid. And then you have here 3 spaces, and then you can have the complementary clause. So the complementary clause that we use in this letter is respectfully yours to show high regard or respect to Mr. Ruben Gonzalez, the recipient of the letter. And then we have here 2 spaces, and then the complete name of the author or the writer of the letter. Okay, and then the label here, which is applicant. And then please don't forget to affix your signature here to make everything that you mentioned here valid. Now, looking at this cover letter or this application letter, there's one thing that I would like to reiterate, and that is to make sure that you sell yourself effectively to the hiring officer. How do you do that one? One tip that I can give is to avoid mentioning things that are already present in your resume. You can brag about you having Latin honors or being an achiever since you were a child, but all of those are already stipulated in your resume. So, expectedly, the hiring officer could know eventually that you have been an achiever your entire life. But there are aspects of your life that are worth mentioning. And so, they need to be mentioned here if you believe that they could be an advantage for you to get the job or the position you are applying for. So make sure that your cover letter or your application letter is unique and persuasive enough to convince the hiring officer to give you the position or to cater you to an interview, a job interview. Through that, you can possibly get the job that you have been wishing for. Again, let us always remember that an application letter is a strong business letter, meaning it is one of the strongest tools that you can use for you to get the job that you have been dreaming for. So, having all of these said, if you have questions, you can post them in the open forum, and or you may comment here in this video, and I would be very glad to answer your questions. Thank you very much for listening in this video lecture.